Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to ZTV Live. Today is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. Tonight, it's Ralph Peluso back with Reading, Writing, and Ralph, and it looks like a fantastic book. He'll be reviewing tonight with the authors Adriana and George Sifakis. So without further ado, let me bring on my buddy Ralph Peluso. Hi, Ralph. Welcome back.
Hi, Susan. Thanks. Happy New Year. It's good to be
Happy New
back.
Year to you. Yeah.
It seems like such a long break, and I was kind of missing it. But we're starting out with an exciting couple who wrote a terrific book. And for people, everybody who's read it's had the same reaction, like wow. And they've got a lot of stuff going on in their lives, and so our viewers will have a good opportunity to hear about their story and what they're doing, and hear about the book, and anxious to get it rolling.
Excellent. Well, let me go ahead and get them on the screen here. Here they are. Hello, Adriana and George. Welcome to ZTV Live.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Adriana.
Hi, Susan and Ralph. Hello.
Good. How are you guys doing? It's good to see you guys again.
Oh, it's great to see you guys. We're doing great.
Excellent.
It's a new year.
It is a new year. Thank goodness. And I'm going to let you three take it away.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan. Well, Adriana and George, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you on as the first guest of the year. It's great seeing you. And but I always like the viewers to learn a little bit about you guys. So why don't we start with you, George, and tell a little about your background and what you're doing, and then we'll go to Adriana because she has so much going on that it's incredible.
So much going on. I'll try to keep it brief. We're moving fast and furious here into 2021. It's been a very interesting period of time for so many people across the planet. I am the CEO of a company called IdeaGen, and we convene the world's leading companies, NGOs, and public sector to address the world's most vexing issues and to ultimately achieve the global goals of the United Nations by 2030. And Adriana is a huge part of that. She was in the room when we created it, and along with giants like former Congressman Louis Stokes, and Adriana can speak to the myriad of other projects that we're involved in.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
You're up, Adriana.
Oh, thanks, Ralph. Yeah, we certainly keep busy these days, Ralph. We've known you for quite a few years now, and the days have flown by. We'll just say that. We're certainly involved in a lot of great projects. We love, Zebra TV and Zebra Magazine. We're big fans of yours and Mary and Susan and your whole team there. And we really are thankful to be with you on the show today. And like George mentioned, yes, I'm very closely involved with our work through IdeaGen, which is extraordinary. Every summit that we host, every convening with thought leaders and luminaries has me just in awe at the work people are doing to have such a positive impact in the world. So for folks who want to learn more about IdeaGen, it's ideagenglobal.com. We're doing some great work, and the company is just growing, and we're proud of the work we're doing with IdeaGen. I also stumbled on the Italian Place a couple years ago too, in addition to the book project, which, it's been about 5 years since we wrote the book, Sealed with a Kiss. Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to believe.
Keeping busy.
Yeah.
I remember. I still remember the first night we met. I think it was in January, and there was you guys plus Mary and myself. So four of us. We were at Lay Refuge, and we were talking about your book, and Mary thought it'd be a wonderful idea to get together. And we've been friends since, and it's a fabulous book. So you're involved in InGen and the Italian Place, which is a fabulous Italian. I guess delicatessen type store and restaurant, I guess, and fabulous sandwiches. My favorite's meatball. I guess that's probably the hottest selling one. But
yes.
how do you manage to juggle all of this and write a book in the middle of it?
It's just it's important. These projects come into your life, and It's, you see people that thrive through Idea Gen and the Italian Place and writing the novel. Really, I think a lot of people keep us going, that really enjoy some of the work that we're doing, and it kind of pushes us to keep on moving. Especially, the Italian Place, we have quite a following since the beginning over there, and we focus on 100% excellence. So everything we do is 100%, excellence in terms of quality and customer service, and all of the important things when you're running a business in terms of restaurants, and keeping everyone healthy, especially now, has been a big thing for us. So it's been great.
It has. It's a great little place, and you're working on a second location.
We are, yes, and you're actually the first publicly to hear about it. We haven't really made the official announcement to the community yet, but we're about to. We're working on the coming soon signage right now, but we're opening our second location in the Mosaic district of Fairfax.
Wow.
So we're thrilled. We'll open sometime around May.
That's right. And you've got an exclusive here, Ralph. The Zebra magazine is the very first, ZTV tonight is the first to know about this second location. Yep. And, it's what a journey. Adriana and her leadership has been simply remarkable. And it really comes from authenticity. There's something to be said about authenticity. She has brought her Italian culture into this project. And so it's real. And when people either order or, taste the food or whatever it may be, they know that it's been curated by someone who understands what it's like to have grown up Italian. So she takes the guesswork out of, well, what kind of wine goes with that pasta or any of that. And I think, going back to San Socio, Italy in 1895, when her great-grandfather stepped on that ship and came to the United States of America to become a fruit dealer, and how ironic that now that his great-granddaughter is continuing operations in an Italian gourmet market. It's really wild to think about.
Right.
It's
that's
unbelievable.
And we just discovered prior to the show that my paternal grandmother and your grandparents are from the same small town.
That's right.
Yep.
So now we are officially related to you, Ralph. So there's even
Probably.
probably. It's an amazingly small world.
Yeah. And the one thing is that I always tell people, you sponsored us by giving us nutritional value during the bocce season of 2017. And if we could put up the picture, we won the DC Metro Championship on the backs of, there we go. And the thing about this, Bart, and then there was myself and Faye and Don Manthony, and the other girl, I think her name was Marissa, and Jim in the back. Only myself and Jim had ever played bocce before, and we pulled it off, winning the DC Metro title, which was pretty incredible. So it was a lot of fun, and thanks for sponsoring us. That was a great season we had.
Well, we proudly display the trophy at the Italian Place. Bart brought it over, and we have it up. Yes,
the trophy is still there. Unfortunately,
yeah,
people.
The last time I was in, I saw it. It was still there. It's a nice trophy.
That's right.
But anyway, so businesswoman, business man, authors, expansion, a lot of excitement going on. So tell us the inspiration behind S.W.A.K, sealed with a kiss, I guess, and how you came to write that story and what it was like going through that for you.
Sure. It was an interesting experience writing my first novel. It was, I look back and I'm like, wow. I think about, the books that I continually have within me that we could continue to write, because there are certainly more stories, and we will revisit writing more books. But it was a great experience. We developed a character and a mother in a family that was a mother-daughter relationship that's rather complicated, unusual, mostly toxic. Some people have referred to Mommy Dearest and Psycho and similar horror stories. But this one is, people I'm sure in real life can relate to similar stories where they have, a mentally ill spouse or friend or family member. And, kind of the story about a mother and a daughter, and how the daughter eventually makes a horrific discovery about how sick her mother really was, and continues to lead a life of balance and happiness, and makes all the right choices in life to be the best she can be moving forward.
And I think, Ralph, having participated in this process, and mainly Adriana leading the way on the project, 1,000 days, you've written a book. 1,000 days is what it took. And it's really unbelievable to think about that whole process ultimately being picked up by a small, publisher, and that whole process. And you're right. I think what I think gave us, and especially Adriana, wind under the wings to complete the project was all the folks like yourself and others across the planet that supported that effort to tell a really incredible story in a novel. And of course, when you write a novel, you pick from things you've seen. You've seen on TV, you've seen in life, you've seen in other areas. And the content, the way this novel came together, it was responsible in the summer that it was released. First of all, broke the single sales day record at Barnes & Noble in Falls Church, Virginia, which was fun.
Yes.
Wow.
But also, we were responsible for a lot of people getting sunburns because they bought it, went to the beach, and then couldn't put it down. And so
This is true.
it was really
It is a page turner.
It's
for
a page
anybody.
turner. You've read it, And
That's
but
right.
it's a story of inspiration as well, especially like right now at this moment in time, globally, global pandemic, on and on, right? The ability to see how important it is and how it is possible for a young woman to be resilient. And how does she become resilient? That's the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story of overcoming an incomprehensible series of events. And I think the inspiration that you end up with is what is so powerful in this story.
Yeah, it's a tremendous story, and it speaks to family dysfunctionality, and many families have dysfunctionality, and you experience it, but just getting the guts then to turn around and write it down and document it. Because as you said, George, a lot of what you see in fiction comes from things you draw on, and so I know, Adriana, you drew on a lot of experiences when you were growing up to develop these characters. So that had to be particularly hard for you to write this down. So how'd you, when you went through that, how much of your heart and soul did you have to pour into that?
Well, the fun part about writing a book is you can write in people you have come in contact. You can use names, you can use places in your material. So that was kind of fun. And some of it, is based on some of my life. Some of it is based on, what maybe other people face. Like you say, everyone kind of has a story of their own, right? So everyone has some story to tell, whether it's a nasty divorce or some sort of a terrible relationship or something that, anyone, a terrible loss in their life or whatever it may be. We all kind of have a story. So I think this book, was written by us to touch people and say, well, I have my own story, and, I'm going to choose to make the best choices in life so I can be the best person I can be for my children and the people that I inspire or aspire to be.
Yeah, and it's fun because the working on the screenplay now, and it will probably be a film within the next few years. You really realize that it's really a dark comedy, because you know what, life is short, and this novel, it's a fiction, piece of fiction, like Adriana said. You find places and people and things, and it's a composite of things that you've seen and heard and read, and in the end, you come up with this novel, which is stitched together, that Adriana so wittingly put together. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Ralph, and it happens in real life, by the way.
It's true.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And as I said, the courage to talk about it's great. I'm going to pause for 1 second because I want to remind the audience that we will have 2 trivia questions tonight, with the prize being, again, autographed version of the S.W.A.K. But I'm going to start the audience off with a warm-up teaser that is not for anything, just for fun, because I want to see who's awake out there. And the first trivia question, and this is just for fun, but I want as many folks to hit the comment button as possible. And the question is, in the movie Throw Mama from the Train, true or false, the opening line was, "The night was moist." So just type in true or false. The opening line to Throw Mama from the Train was, "The night was moist." So, George, one of the things I think that struck me in the book was the amount of that Greek Orthodox faith came into providing the character, particularly Lauren, with her strength. So how much came from drawing on your background there?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's whether you're, someone who is spiritual or a person of faith, or no matter what it may be, we all have some form of affinity, a rock that we lean on from time to time. My personal understanding, my personal sort of reflection, and Adriana, through, obviously, we've been married now 20 years. Her exposure to the Greek Orthodox faith is something that we understand. Faith can be a powerful element in life to give you hope, right? And gosh, we talked about how important hope is, and I grew up in the Greek Orthodox Church, and I understand it, and I reach out to it for strength, in good times and also in challenging times. And so that's what the book portrays, is that there's hope, and there's places where you can gain that strength. Doesn't have to be the Greek Orthodox faith. It could be anything, group you belong to, or whatever it may be. But for me and for Adriana and for our family, the Greek Orthodox Church has been sort of a pillar of stability and strength. And it's a good point you bring up, and that's woven into the book in a very real and powerful way, so that folks can insert whatever they like into that section. It's Greek Orthodox, you're Catholic, you're Jewish, whatever it is, you can put into that wherever you seek strength and end up in the same place.
Right. That's a great point, George, and it's very good to hear that, and that's one of the messages that you get from the book in when you're going through crisis like this, and to have that strength to overcome.
Right.
We're gonna next. We'll get right into the characters here. I'm just going to give the answer to that trivia question. The answer to that trivia question is false. That was not the opening line, although it does occur later. Let me give the first trivia question. That's we'll get a winner for the autographed version of a copy of the book. And the first trivia question, and we got our trivia folks out there ready to go. The question is, what U.S. city is credited with establishing the first Greek community? So again, the question is, what U.S. city is credited with establishing the first Greek community? First one in with the answer will win the book. So, Adriana, George, let's talk about the characters. The first one, obviously, is Ma Napolitano. Tell us about her.
Ma Napolitano, married into the Napolitano family, and she was rather controlling, charming, all in one, and raised her family in Westfield, New Jersey, and kind of was had this toxic way about her throughout her life. So while she could be charming and very lovely at times, it seemed like there was kind of a dark cloud living over her all her life, and it kind of played out in the presence of anyone who did good in her life, including her children and her family members.
Yeah, I still remember the opening scene because it takes place on a country club, I think, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of sets you up for, like, because you get the impression of country club people are going to act a certain way, and then you get smacked on the face, and you're like, "Whoa!" Totally different character.
Yeah, one of my favorite opening quotes in part one is a quote by Aristotle Onassis. "We must free ourselves of the hope that the sea will ever rest. We must learn to sail in high winds." And that was kind of Ma's tone throughout the book is, just when you think she's going to slow down, she kind of picks up. That's right. And you just have to learn to sail in those high winds, I tell you, throughout the book. And they get, more charging and crazy as time goes on throughout the book until bang at the end.
Yeah. Yes, it was very good. Ma Napolitano. And of course, you've got Lauren, who was the target of her ire, I guess is the best way to put it. And so tell us a little bit about Lauren.
Lauren ends up, kind of moving on from living at home at around the age of 20 because things just got a little too toxic at home. So she moves on, relocates to Washington, D.C., with Michael, the character Michael, and starts to live a normal life and kind of goes back and forth between Washington and New Jersey, and starts to scratch her head and be like, what is, something, I love having a family and wants to have her parents, involved in her life, and certainly, is, so happy and grateful to be a part of, this big, wonderful Italian family, and adores that in her relationship with her dad. But that unhealthy relationship with Ma just became so unbearable that it was just kind of couldn't continue on that way.
Right. And by the way, Ralph, I think it's important to note for the audience that you could take Ma and insert anyone into that. You could, so that was the purpose, I think, of the book and the novel and the composite figures that resulted, is that you come across these challenges, and sometimes they're relating to specific individuals that are in some ways, toxic or difficult or anywhere on that spectrum. And I think, how do you deal with them? How do you overcome it? How do you become resilient? I think it's masterful the way, especially Adriana helped to craft these characters into the powerful figures in the narrative that you read. You read it, so it's really remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, some people go on and on, as victims of, abuse, and they tolerate it. And it's, no, you really don't have to.
That's right.
Yeah, you can go to almost any family and pick characters out of the book and just interchange the parts, and sometimes you see families just get blown apart. They just don't have the ability to stay together, and you wonder why. And could they have worked to see the good in the family and kept it together? Excuse me, while compartmentalizing maybe the toxic element. But anyway, let's check with Susan and see if we have a winner on that first trivia contest.
We do have a winner, and the first one in with the correct answer was Nancy Campbell Gorski. Congratulations, Nancy. She came up with the correct answer of New Orleans, Louisiana, and right on her heels was Michelle D'Amato, and right after that was Gwen Day Fuller. So we had 3 correct answers right in a row, but Nancy was the first.
Wow. Well, it's good to see Nancy Gorski back. I mean, so
Yeah.
Welcome back, Nancy, and Happy New Year to you. And, of course, to Michelle and to Gail. So fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
we'll get to the second trivia question in a minute. We have some regulars out there, and they're very competitive when it comes to the So, any other characters you want to bring up and talk about in the book besides the 2 most important ones there?
Gosh, there's so many, right?
There's a few.
Yeah, there are a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple characters that someone George had mentioned earlier before we started airing the show, who baptized our youngest daughter Eva, is former Congressman Lou S.W.A.K, who was a mentor and family friend of ours, who we lost a few years ago. But he was written into the book kind of as a mentor towards the end. Congressman Lou S.W.A.K served as a great mentor for Washington and in general. So it was fun to write about that.
And that's a really good point. I think when you're writing a novel, it's like you have a blank slate. And we heard, I think right around the time when we were writing it, someone on the Today Show or somewhere said, well, of course you take everything we talk about is taken from something you've seen, because otherwise how would you possibly be able to write it, right? So you take composites, and in this case, Louis Stokes was a giant in terms of his ability to converse, to be a statesman. And we talk a lot today about civility and empathy and all these other wonderful, words of how people should be. Well, Lou Stokes was that before it was, popular in conversation. He was empathetic. He was a leader. He was a mentor to us personally and professionally. And he actually, one day we said, well, how did you last in the United States Congress? And by the way, this was before today. So how did you last in the United States Congress for 30 years being such a nice guy? And his answer was quite simple. He said, George, Adriana, you don't have to be, you can be, being nice is not necessarily being weak.
Yeah.
And so we learned a lot in that simple statement. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be mean-spirited. You can certainly disagree with someone, disagree all day long, but also at the same time, don't dislike the person. Bring people together. Isn't that a novel thing? I mean, we really, sort of embedded that in Congressman Stokes in the novel, because he was that. He was that person that you look up to, that you say, I want to be like that. That's who that character is. A little bit of insight into that.
Yeah, he was a very good congressman, a very good person, and that's an excellent point you raised. The next section we're going to get onto is what's called the association game, where we're going to take characters from either well-known books or well-known movies that relate to the characters in the book. So that's going to get me to the next trivia question, again for an autographed copy of the book. And if everyone's eligible to compete for the winner of the trivia, but if you're a repeat from earlier today, then the second person gets the book. So you can still compete to get in there first, but if you do win, we'll give it to the second person in with the right answer. So, and the question is, in the 3 movies that have villainous moms, Mommy Dearest, Throw Mama from the Train, and Flowers in the Attic, name the actress that played the villainous moms in each of those movies. So again, 3 movies, Flowers in the Attic, Mommy Dearest, and Throw Mama from the Train. Name the actress that played the mother. So let's get back to talking about that. So Flowers in the Attic, Lauren, as sort of the one who's trying to lift the spirits and keep her ground in your book, versus Kathy and Chris, who were the older siblings in Flowers in the Attic. And if you remember that movie or the book in the V.C. Andrews book and the movie going back, how do you, anything comes to mind between your character and her spirit versus their spirit?
Yeah, I mean, just unhealthy relationships, kooky, crazy, nuts, not normal. All, like George says, can be rather entertaining at times. I mean, we look back on the book, and I know there's some very serious segments to the book, but George kind of alluded to the fact that, we're writing a screenplay, which we are. So the book was kind of intended to be a movie from the beginning, but we wanted to do it right, make a nice novel, and then adapt to screenplay. So we're kind of at that stage, and it's kind of entertaining. We've been picked up a few Netflix series over COVID season, and Ozark, and some, we've watched some crazy wild movies, Gone Girl and other things, and we're like, wow, it's really inspired us to write a dark comedy. So make it entertaining in some ways too, where it can be too heavy. I mean, I don't really want a tearjerker, let's just say that. But Throw Mama from a Train, I think you can add some comedy and make light of these, somewhat real life scenarios that we're all living, quite frankly, in some form or another.
That's right. And, Ralph, the whole notion, again, is that this exists. I mean, there are people out there that, are doing things that should be called out sometimes. You have to be a warrior in this life. You have to fight through, you have to develop resiliency, and none of that is easy, by the way. And this book, while it's a dark comedy, I think is sort of a blueprint for, allowing you to see things that maybe you don't see, on a day-to-day basis, and like Adriana said, and we're big believers in this, personally and professionally, is that no one should tolerate abuse of any form, ever. Not for a second. And there's never any reason to tolerate any form of abuse, to compartmentalize it, to allow it to continue, no matter who it is. And that's another element of this book, is even if it's your mother, if you're getting abused, it's not something that any human being should allow. Right? Isn't that the premise?
Oh yeah, life's too short.
Yeah.
So when you think about the characters, Mon Politano in your book, Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest, Mama in Throw Mama from the Train, and of course, I believe it was Corinne in Flowers in the Attic. What's the common characteristic, and what is the part of them that they're trying to inflict on their family?
Yeah, well, if you ask me, I would say they're just possessed. I mean, because none of it makes sense.
That's a good way to put
I
it.
mean, it's almost like there's something, brewing inside of them that's maybe out of their control. That's the only sense you can make of someone you see on the news who is completely deranged and is doing things that are just not completely normal. I mean, we've all watched these horror movies over the years, and there's some really crazy people out there, and sometimes you just can't make any sense of it. Whether they can take a medication to fix it or not, sometimes you have to wonder, is there something inside of them that's triggered some unnatural evil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point, is that what you see in the book is that there is evil out there, and that you can overcome it, you can avoid it. And it goes back to that resiliency piece, the ability to see it, because sometimes in various situations, the person that's the victim doesn't really see it or is trapped in some way.
Right. And the person, it's a lot of it has to do with control. It seems to me. Maybe it's shortcomings in their own life that they're trying to make up for, but whatever it is, and couching it as evil or possessed, and the outcome is still the same. They're just inflicting so much damage on their children and their family and all of that, and it's really a tough environment. Let me check with Susan and see if we have a winner for the second question.
We do indeed have a winner. Michelle D'Amato was the first one to correctly name all three.
Yay.
And it was Anne Ramsey, Faye Dunaway, and Victoria Tennant, who was the dark horse. I mean, from Flowers in the Attic, you didn't really see her very much. She was in All of Me with Steve Martin, but then she kind of didn't really make a lot of movies after that, did she?
No, she didn't.
I thought of another evil mom that would match Adriana's definition of being possessed, which was Carrie's mom in Stephen King's book. Played brilliantly by Piper Laurie in the movie Carrie. She was possessed. I mean, really. Well, Carrie was, but the mother was too. But I digress.
Congratulations to Michelle, and good.
Yes, Michelle. Thank you so much for playing. The book will be coming your way.
Hi, congratulations.
Good. So, what's next? You got screenplay, potential movie. What's after that?
What's after?
Prequel.
Retire. We're thinking about
retirement one day.
Yeah.
One day.
It's going to take that long, probably.
What's next? Gosh, well,
doing good. Just
doing good. That's right. That's a great.
Kids are growing up. I tell you, they're how many in high school now?
One in high school. Our oldest is 17. Yep, we've been looking at colleges and universities for next year. And then we have a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. So, yes, they are growing up. Yep.
They're growing up. They're actually part of the screenplay process. They're helping to craft the film version of this with a world-renowned producer and director that has that read it and said, I want to produce this. And so it's a super exciting moment in time for that project. Okay. I think the other several exciting projects, but The Italian Place we talked about earlier is, it's something that is so incredibly inspiring.
It is, yes. It's so much fun, to bring back your roots and live it every single day through The Italian Place. We've got the Greek over here who's completely supportive of all things Italian.
That's right.
So,
hey, look, absolutely. The ability to embrace your culture, as Adriana has, and to bring it to life, and really, and with every discovery, you discover, like in the research with ancestry and all that we pinpointed exactly where her great grandfather came, as I mentioned, from San Socio, Italy. Imagine.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
The first time I had one of your meatball subs, I remember saying to you, they tasted just like my grandmother's, and now I know why.
Wow.
Because they came from the same town.
And Florence was amazing.
Yeah, we recently added pizza to the menu, which is awesome. Reminds me a lot of pizza from back home in Boston in the North End.
That's right.
Pizzeria Regina. So it's a great Italian pizza. And I also put the Wicked Smart Italian Grinder on the menu.
Oh, wow.
Which brings back my Boston roots. It's a classic Italian grinder, and it's good. You got to try it.
I will. Next time I'm in Northern Virginia, I will stop. I'll make sure I stop on Wits Street, or I will. If it's after May, I'll make sure I get to the new one.
And I think it's important. And I know Adriana wanted to mention this too. Is that she's so grateful. We're also grateful for continued operations throughout the pandemic. I mean, I think the community has rallied. It has provided to us a sense of a little bit of normalcy throughout the pandemic, and the happiness of people just trying to continue to get their favorite whatever, sandwich or soup or pizza, whatever it may be, or wine, has been inspiring for us and for our family to see that the music's still on. People can't go inside, but she's got the Italian music, Sinatra and everything else, and songs.
You still do Sinatra on Friday nights?
Oh, yeah. It's on constantly. So she, that's that that ethos embedded into the Italian place. So we're so grateful to Alexandria, to the people of Alexandria, and to the Zebra, and to you, Ralph, and your whole team there, just for believing in the Italian.
It's so good to see you guys, and so good to have you on, and so wonderful that you guys are doing so well. So, and I know you've come through a lot in the last few years, and every bit of the way you guys are always happy, which is remarkable.
Well, we're not going to stop. Well, like Steve Jobs said, we're going to keep punching a hole in the universe. Life is short, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. And there's a small amount of time. It's finite. My uncle used to tell me, I've eaten my bread, now it's your turn. We're starting to turn to our kids and say, you know what? You're up. They've got to do well in school and be good citizens. And remember that civility.
They'll start making their way through the world faster than you would like, but they will, in fact. Well, it was a pleasure having you guys on, and good seeing you again. And hopefully I'll get to see you in person, sometime this year. And good luck, and keep up the great work of what you guys are doing.
You too, Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph.
We thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Susan.
Yep,
all right,
here I am.
Before we leave, we have next week, we have a special edition of Reading, Writing, and Ralph. We're doing it 1 week early, so it will be the 19th, and we'll have Michael Grabowski, Memories of Lasting Shadows, which is a terrific book. Very good for the times of what's going on, and we'll have a nice conversation with Michael. And he's moved from Alexandria down to Richmond. I guess he moved about 2 years ago. So, but he'll be joining us next week, 7:00.
Terrific.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, Adriana and George, what a pleasure speaking with you tonight and hearing. We did have just a couple of, Mary Wadlin was wondering about the store in Old Town. What size is it compared to the store, the new store in Fairfax? What size is it compared to the store in Old Town?
We're doubling in size in Mosaic.
Nice.
We'll have, VIP seating for all of you.
Excellent.
And indoor seating. We're taking over a burger space, so we'll have a lot of things in place for equipment in the kitchen, and we're going to install a window, one of those opening.
It's sort of
sliding
retractable.
doors.
The doors, the whole entire front of the new Italian place will open al fresco.
Oh, beautiful.
wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
So you will feel like you're in Sorrento on the water there.
He's going to have a mandolin player.
If I have anything to do with it, it'll be like you're in Athens. If Adriana has it'll be more like Naples.
There you go. They're both beautiful places, so it's a win-win either way. So anyway, good night so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Ralph, great to see you, and we will see you in 1 week.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yep, Happy New Year. Okay. And that will do it for another edition of ZTV Live and Reading, Writing, and Ralph. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please tune in tomorrow night. Dr. Lauren Fisher of the Delray Wellness District will be back for a Wellness Wednesday, and her guest is Kat Zajac of Ascend Life and Cycle. So they'll be talking about some fitness tips for the new year and how to incorporate different types of exercising into your routine, and certainly cycling being one of them. And then Thursday night, we're excited to announce a brand new show with Elisa Kovac from the Alexandria Makers Market. So please tune in at 7 o'clock. Melanie Runyon from Truly Life will be her first guest, so we are really excited for that. So as always, lots of great stuff going on here at ZTV. Thank you so much for joining in. We love the audience participation, and we hope to see you tomorrow night. But remember, at all times, as much as you can, to be the good news in someone's life.